Podshop Studios in London on Friday, the 7th of February 2025, I, Mutia, from the Leading in Love podcast, and Emma from the Sex from Every Angle podcast, joined forces on the captivating topic of attraction, covering friendship, dating, love, and so much more. We decided to collaborate to encourage meaningful conversations with those who hold different perspectives and opinions, as we feel it's vital to engage with one another, to spread understanding and empathy. Most importantly, we aim to promote a message of peace and unity, especially in the face of oppression, stigma, and hatred that often divides us. So tune in as we explore these essential themes and share our personal insights on attraction. Emma can be found on Instagram on the handle Sex from Every Angle, where you will also find a link to a podcast, which of course is also called Sex from Every Angle. In episode 5, part 1 of this podcast, we ended the podcast on the topic of letting go of attraction and setting people free. And in this episode, we will be starting the podcast on the topic of meeting new people. Enjoy. So talking about setting people free, about meeting people, so we're going to go on to dating segment 2, which is the dating scene. What's one of the most interesting places that you've met people that may have led to any type of friendship or dating? Or...
Do you want the PC vanilla answer?
Let me go first, and then you can have a little thing. So one of the most interesting places that I've met someone that I would say these days it's probably like just meeting people offline. This makes it so much more interesting.
Well, I do. Yeah. I agree. Like I would never go on dating apps ever again because it's so inauthentic in itself. I think it's about going back to the times where you just met people organically. If you just live your life in love and do the things that align for you, then you're going to then meet people who also, do those things that they love.
But also, I feel like if you're going to find a dating app, definitely use the right one for you. So like I use a Christian dating app, and I really like the Christian dating app because when you stop talking, you don't unmatch each other. On the other apps, when you decide that you're not going to meet each other, they just literally unmatch you.
Well, I guess that's a pretty interesting
If I want to come back to the conversation, I can. Do you know what I mean? They don't feel like, okay, because you're not sexually or physically or emotionally attracted to me, I don't want to talk to you. Which is quite refreshing.
Yeah.
It's quite refreshing.
Yeah, that's really the most interesting place I have met. And also, just to say, I have only ever been in 2 relationships. Yeah. I'm kind of like an all or nothing kind of girl. I'll be like, I'm all in this or...
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not even at the point now where people say, "Oh, I just want a bit of fun." I'm like, that's not fun to me anymore. It's just boring. It's just like friction,
It's so
But the most interesting place would probably have to be in the kink scene, either at Torture Gardens or
so you've met
foot
people
parties.
There?
Yeah, and
really?
not always in a romantic way, like in a platonic way. Some of the most amazing, deep, profound connections I've made with people have been in the BDSM community.
Oh, really? That's good. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, because again, it's a community that's very misunderstood and misrepresented, and it's not necessarily what
So when you say deep
BDSM.
No. When you say deep, what did you say?
Deep connections.
Why would you refer to it as a deep connection?
Because I think at its heart of BDSM, for people who are practicing it from an aligned place, it's about emotional intelligence.
Oh, okay.
You have to know what makes people tick, and it's very intuitive work. Like, I mean, it fascinates me actually, and it's also there's a lot of vulnerability in it. Yeah, especially if you're in a position of surrender. Yeah, there's a lot of vulnerability in that, and actually that is something I find really attractive. Okay. And also not just someone being them being vulnerable, but also for me to be vulnerable with them.
So basically, sometimes when you don't express it, you repress it, and it comes out in a weird way. Yes. But if you could just be in an environment to explore that
safely
with adults, in a safe environment, maybe it wouldn't get dark and twisted.
This is exactly my point. Like, I actually have an episode on my podcast where I interviewed a professional dominatrix, and this is one of the things we talked about. BDSM, when it's done correctly, is role play. It's not abusive. And that's where it's tricky, because there's certain films out there that have portrayed it in a way where it's like,
abusive,
that's not BDSM, that's emotional abuse and physical abuse. So so that is probably, in answer to your question, the most interesting place I've met people.
That's amazing. I really like the fact that we're having a conversation, and that's I didn't tell you this, but I was like, because we think so differently, I was like, we think so differently. I was like, yeah, that's why I want you to come on the podcast.
But we don't. Yeah. The funny thing is, though, actually, when you distill it down.
Yeah, because I feel like I feel like I do choose my friends wisely. And I've said this over and over again. Like, I'm not going to have a Christian friend that's nasty and judgmental. Yeah. I'm not going to have a friend that's into the kink scene that's nasty and weird and abusive. Maybe that's why my journey going to church was kind of slowed down, because you can become a bit rigid in your thinking. But to be honest with you, also, I have had the opportunity to meet people in the church and not rigid in their thinking. And sometimes what we perceive something to be is, like you said, like the BDSM community. In my case, the church is completely different to what you think it would be. So moving on to segment 3, we're going to talk about navigating relationships. Okay. So we discussed this before, and you were like, oh, I'm not sure about this. But remember I was saying that honeymoon stage doesn't necessarily have to be a relationship. It can be anything, when everything's new and fresh and exciting. So my question is, can you describe the honeymoon stage in relationships and what makes it special?
I guess it's the thing that makes it special is the feeling it gives you within. That like giddy.
Do you know what I feel like? I feel like the honeymoon stage is like, do you know when you feel hope again?
It's hope.
You're like,
it's hope. It's joy.
Yeah,
it's
like
hope.
You
it's
feel
joy.
like, oh my gosh, like I wasn't expecting this, and now it's happening. Well, most of the time you're not expecting it, aren't you?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you have this amazing experience at yourself and reflect, and you feel like there was no need for me to worry or stress.
Yeah.
Like. Yeah, things will come and go.
It's high vibrational, isn't it? Those feelings of, but I think it's like going a stage further and going, okay, well, why am I getting so much hope from this external thing?
Yeah, definitely.
Because actually, it's a reflection of the hope within you that's always there.
And sometimes people are just mirroring, like. I've noticed a lot, it's like when you feel connected to someone because they're mirroring a need or a part of you that needs attention. Do you know what I mean? Like whether like when I was in my when I was in my, like I need to party and be wild stage. I loved it when I met other people that had the same energy.
Wait till if you ever meet your twin flame. Also, let's just be clear. Okay, I want to just clear something up as well, mentioning twin flames. It's been bandied about now. I had never, ever heard of it before I realised that I was on that path and that journey. And it gets bandied about by celebrities like Megan Fox and Taylor Swift. Oh, I've met my twin flame, and it's really romanticised, and it's like the ultimate goal of like finding your twin flame. I mean, gosh, there's this whole documentary and this really messed up cult, twin flame. That is not twin flames, okay? A twin flame journey finds you do not find it comes and you're just like, what the it completely blows apart your concept, and it will only when it's a twin flame journey as well, because it propels you to do your soul's purpose, to be aligned, to be the best version of yourself. And these really toxic relationships they appear, I mean, obviously no one can really know what goes on behind closed doors, but like Amy Winehouse, like Megan Fox, it just feels far too toxic to be a twin flame journey. And I don't say, like, a twin flame journey isn't all rainbows and sunshine.
Can I mention something? Sorry. I don't have any experience of someone like seeking a twin flame. And I don't have no understanding or experience of like the idea. I've really, to be honest with you, I feel like you're the only person I've
because
met
I said you don't it finds you don't
that feels
find
like
it.
you've had that experience.
To be honest, it's okay. I just want to say as well, it's not something you do need to understand, because it's something unless you're on the journey. Even if you're on the journey, your mind cannot understand it. Your mind cannot comprehend why you feel such a strong attachment to someone you barely know, and you try and rationalize it, and you try and make it logical, and maybe it's limerence and this and that, and then the universe and God just keep showing you, and you're like, okay, because it is ultimately about bringing you back to you and your path, and it's not some romantic thing where two people are destined to be together. I mean, maybe that is part of it, but But it isn't at the same
I'm glad
time.
that you said that because my mother raised me in a religious household. I always had that understanding of God, but maybe not a strong relationship. So I never ever prayed for a man. I've never prayed like, may he stay in my life. I love him. I've always prayed, God, if he's not for me, remove him.
Exactly. Because what is meant for you will not pass you
so
by. And it's having that faith of going, okay, well, if this person's not my twin flame, then it's okay, bye.
But for my experience in terms of like twin flame and / topics of honeymoon stage, I feel like sometimes someone has come along into my life and they've kind of made me realize like a need that I hadn't even
that you didn't even know,
like I hadn't even observed in myself until I met them. So like there was one time that I was dating this lovely Scottish guy. I mentioned it briefly the other day, and then I met this guy that was Christian and celibate, and I broke up with my boyfriend to be with this Christian celibate boy. And I remember thinking, like, I just don't feel like you want the best for me. You want me to be who you need me to be. Things that I was doing and living, and he was kind of like, yeah, it's okay, I find it acceptable. And I was like, funnily enough, even though I was doing it, I didn't find it acceptable. I didn't find it acceptable, like the lifestyle that I was living. And I met a guy, there was this niggling thought in the back of my mind that I met a guy that literally was like, Mutia, you're worth so much more than this. And I was like, yes, this is what... But I didn't know.
It's because, I mean, God is within us. So it's like that inner intuition. That's God.
After that honeymoon stage passed, like obviously there's other parts of being Christian. I actually started thinking, this guy's the worst guy I've ever met. He's so mean. He's just like the I want the best for you turned into like, you want me to be something that I'm not capable of being. But now I'm mature enough to understand that. Like, I think we had this conversation this morning that not all love is soft and like, oh, I love you, you're amazing. Some love is like, I want the best for you, and that might and I don't like it when you do this or do that. But you have to say it in a mindful way. So when the honeymoon stage passed, both made each other feel like this. We were not quite on the same path or the same... We were on the same path, but not on the same page yet.
And I guess that's it. With the honeymoon stage, it's then you move into that realisation of the bubble bursts a bit. But that also isn't necessarily a bad thing. And what can be quite interesting is then when you do have that separation, that in itself is very revealing and can reveal more truth in a way than when you're in that honeymoon phase and you're in each other's energies.
It can help you self-reflect and see what you need to work on
yourself,
or what areas of personal development you need to work on. And it's so funny because like that friend, like I remember when he got married and then he called me, he's like, oh, I've got married, because that's we became friends. We realized we weren't a match. And I remember thinking like, oh, why does he want to talk to me like he's married? But now I understand the maturity of like being able to have connections with people and platonic. Not that, like I said, back to the Christian dating app, not that you stop talking to someone and discard them. Like, that's it, you don't have access to me anymore.
Exactly.
That's so childish. But obviously be like mature about it. Like I was watching Instagram. I was on Instagram the other day, and this woman said that she's married, and this guy, they ended up like they went on a date, but it never went anywhere. He called her or reached out to her and said, thank you for so much for telling me about this, even though they didn't end up together. He was like, you got me kind of like
it doesn't mean that you need to then just cut all ties. It's like it doesn't have to be all or nothing, but it's about asking, well, if you feel the need to run away from that person because you feel like, oh, I can't be what they need or they can't be what I need. It's like, but it's you're running away from yourself. You don't need to be afraid of a connection with someone, even if it's not in what your logical mind perceives it what it should be.
But what I would say, we're on a part in our journey that we have that emotional intelligence now. We do not objectify people.
But I think everyone has it in themselves.
I feel like what I would like to stress is like, if you're like, for example, if I was like, there were certain chapters in my life when I was like drinking and partying, and at that stage, if my partner or boyfriend was talking to a girl, I could not trust him because he did not display self-control or impulse control. So it depends on what kind of person you're dating.
This is a very interesting.
You know what I mean? It depends on who you're dating, really, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's not just a matter of like, we should.
I'm in a healed place. It's like, but are they?
Yeah, you have to both know that you're healed in your mind. You do not objectify people. You have impulse control. But even if you do, it's still...
Coming back to, I was having this conversation as well earlier, even today, and it's like, the elephant in the room is when you're in a relationship, you're expected that you're never going to find someone else attractive. Of course you are.
In the Christian community, they would disagree. I would like to say.
But you are going to be...
Oh, you're going to be able to
perceive
someone as attractive.
You might be attracted to someone, okay? But that doesn't necessarily mean that it means anything. It can just be a simple energy thing. And I think it's about getting to a place in a relationship where you can express those things, and so it doesn't become something insidious.
But to be fair, like, we're talking from an ideology. Like, I'm talking from an ideology. The reality of it is that people have feelings. People do have breakdowns of marriages, even in the church. Yeah. It happens.
Exactly.
It happens. Like, no one's safe.
And love also, yes, you can love someone, but nothing will guarantee you will be with this person forever.
It's true.
Nothing.
It's true.
And you shouldn't want that either, because the only person you're going to be with for your whole life is you.
Yeah, it's true.
That is the one person you can guarantee.
For example, I've got a father that passed away. I told my mum I was doing this podcast this morning, and she was like, yeah, you have to live your life for you. Yeah. Not that this person's gone, now I'm going to self-destruct. Yeah. That's chaotic a way to think.
Gives you a lot of perspective. I had this conversation as well with someone who recently lost their mum, and they're in their late 20s, and I said, welcome to the club.
Yeah.
Sucks, but welcome to the club. And I said, the thing is as well, it's a gift in a way, and I don't mean that to sound awful, but when someone like a parent passes when you're young yourself, it does teach you so much that this isn't forever. No one wants to think about death, okay? No one wants to think, oh, I could die tomorrow. None of us really know how long we've got. But the thing that will always outlive death is love.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even need to be necessarily the love between two people. It can be love of your life and what you did with it, and maybe something creative that came out of it. I was listening to Eartha Kitt the other day, and I was thinking, wow, this woman, she passed over, 20, 30 years ago. And we can still sit here today and hear her voice. Exactly. And that is love. This
is a good question. I've been excited to answer this question.
Okay.
Because I'm single now, and it's happened to me a few times. And I want to know. There you go.
Yeah.
So have you ever realised you were not compatible with someone, and how did you navigate that realisation?
I really hope this isn't triggering for the person who might watch this, but I recently came out of a long-term relationship of 8 years.
Yeah.
He's the father of my children. And we're amicable, but it doesn't mean it's been without its hurt. But what I realised is I am not responsible for that other person's hurt. They're entitled to be hurt. That doesn't mean that I have to repress my truth, because that's not love. That's not love for that person, and that's not love for myself.
Do you feel hurt though? When you say you're not responsible for that other person's hurt, that's obviously two ways. They're not responsible for your hurt. Are you saying you don't feel hurt?
I don't know. I don't feel hurt.
Oh, that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess there's been hurt at points where I've realised the connection. Someone can say they love you, but when you realise, oh, you don't actually love me because you loved parts of me. You didn't like the fact that, for example, I used to be a stripper. You didn't love that about me. You don't love the fact that I'm more sexually adventurous than
I understand why you're.
So I guess there can be hurt in there, but I also think you get to choose that hurt. You get to choose if you're hurt by something. You get to choose if you feel a victim of something. What
I would say to that is that I have had I've been broken up with, and I've broken up with people before, and I've had people that we've been so mature about the way we've navigated it that there was no hurt. That we literally both just sat down and had a conversation. I think it is appropriate to like sometimes cut communication, but I think it's inappropriate to not even like, for example, if someone, do you remember when Russell Brand broke up with Katy Perry over text?
Yeah.
So inappropriate.
Yeah.
Don't you think so?
It's not fair to ghost people.
Yeah.
Okay. It isn't fair. But I think the people that or not even ghost people, even if you just, like you say, do it in such an inappropriate way.
Like if I've never met someone, ghost me. I don't really care. Like I'm talking about someone. If you've been in a relationship with someone, that's completely. If I've never met you, ghost me. Like I will not care. So I'm talking about when Russell Brand broke up with Katy Perry over a text message. Yeah. I feel like at least say, hey, could you call me? Hope you had a good day. Could you call me?
Yeah, but we all know that. We all know that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I think ultimately Russell knows that.
Yes, inappropriate. Yeah. But anyway, moving on. Inappropriate. Putting that out because it's true. I don't care. It's so funny because like, I think men are kind of the opposite. Like if you don't give them a chance, it can hurt them. But women are like, I gave you a chance and breaking up with me over it, that's disrespectful. But I've had men be triggered over the fact that I don't want to talk to them. But I've never met you. I don't know you. I don't have to. I don't owe you anything. Yeah. But men can be really triggered by that because they feel like it's a missed opportunity. Yeah. Where women, I think we're less likely to be triggered by someone not talking to you because they don't fancy you, they don't want to meet you. But we are more likely to be triggered by like if you're in a relationship and then the person doesn't give you that respect.
Because why it triggers you is because it makes you think that your intuition wasn't right. That's what it is ultimately.
It's not about the person.
It's not about the person.
Like, oh my gosh, like
it's about I thought this person had a connection with me too,
and they're just gonna act like this. So true. It's so funny because like I've only ever had that happen in one relationship where I felt like it's like so disrespectful. But I feel like that person's got bigger issues. Bigger fish to fry.
Ultimately, it's a reflection of their issues. It's not on you. I kind of feel sorry for them.
If that's how you navigate through life, good luck.
It's sad that people feel the need to just really not speak their truth. It's like I've been reading the Unconscious Coupling book, and it's about coming at a place, and like I always said when me and my former partner was separating, I hate the word separation. I was like, it doesn't feel like a separation, it just feels like a change. And so that's how I was describing it for a while. I would say, well, our relationship's changing. This person is always going to be in my life. He's the father of my children, and I will always have a degree of love for him. You know, that's that, but it's just about getting to a place, like you said, well, this is why I don't feel hurt, but of course he's been hurt by it, because in his eyes the love of his life broke up with him out of nowhere. And I say to him, but you get to choose that narrative, and that narrative isn't necessarily helpful for you.
Generally, I don't feel hurt when relationships end. I feel like it's if the person does it in a way that it shows like he has no respect for me at all. But that's, again, like you said, that's on them.
It's on them.
Like that means they don't probably have respect for themselves. Like they don't know how to respect other people because maybe they've even learned that behavior from someone else.
We all have childhood wounds. It's all a reflection of maybe that person was parented in that way where their feelings were dismissed and they weren't heard.
And that's a wrap for episode 5, part 2 on this podcast on the powerful nature of attraction. Make sure you look out for episode 5, part 3, in which we'll be starting the podcast discussing the highs and lows of attraction and seeking guidance.